So today is going to be the first session of a new set of themes. We're probably going to run about 6 weeks with this theme. We're going to work through foundations. So today we're going to be a little bit kind and easy to our body because some of you have mentioned to me that you're experiencing some issues through the neck and the shoulders and through the chest, and often that's stress related. And funny enough, there's quite a few people right now that are experiencing this discomfort. So we're going to work on the foundation, really basic spaces, but really, really important in your body is Tadasana, Sukasana, and Savasana. So Tadasana is mountain. Sukasana is also known as easy pose, seated. And Savasana, we all know Savasana well. So that's where we're working this morning. We're going to start just for a moment standing. Really just for a moment. I want to invite you to come to stand in what you feel like is your mountain pose. So your feet are probably about hip width apart. Feel the base of the big toe ground down. I want you to feel the legs externally rotate a little bit. So feel like they're turning outward so that the arches of your feet lift. And just engage gently through your sit bones and see if you can draw your tailbone down so you take a really strong arch out of your spine. Bring the shoulders up to the ears and then just let them melt down so you feel your chest open. Let the arms hang and let the hands shine forward so you're externally rotating the arms. And bring your chin so it's parallel with the floor. Take a big breath here. This is mountain pose. We're going to explore this more, but just feel what this feels like in your body. It might feel awkward. It might feel challenging. Just notice where that is. It might feel pretty natural if this is something you practice. Try and bring the hips and the shoulders over the space of the ankles so you're really strong and reach to the crown of the head. Take a breath. And then relax. Bend the knees a little bit. We're going to fold forward, so hinge at the hips. Just let everything dangle. We're going to bring one knee at a time down. We're going to come down to Sukasana, to seated. So come to a cross-legged position. Your legs can be whatever orientation is your go-to for you. Try and sit forward on your sit bones so you try and take any arching or rounding out of your low back. Lift the heart tall. Just let the arms rest wherever they do. Take a breath here. And while you're paused, notice how this feels. Is this a challenging space for you? Do you have to work to keep the pelvis tilting forward? Do you tend to round the whole spine, feel the shoulders come forward and the head drop towards the front of the mat? Or is it really natural and easy for you to find something that's tall and relaxed here? And check in with your hips. It might be something that's really, really not easy for you, and that's okay. We're going to play in that space too. And then slowly we're going to come all the way down into Shavasana, and that's where we're going to arrive in our practice this morning. So as you come to Shavasana, tuck the shoulder blades under so the heart space and the chest opens. Let the legs go. So feel right from inside your hip socket. Release any contraction or holding of the legs. They might roll in or out. Just let them land where they do. Let the palms shine up. And then bring your chin away from your chest. Some of us tend to rest here with the chin tucked in. Take a big breath here. And then when your body is ready to exhale, take a big sigh. And relax everything. Feel like you're starting to melt down into your mat. And as you arrive here in stillness and release, notice what comes up for you. Not so much Busyness in the mind, though, that may be there. That may always be there. But notice any reaction. Is coming to this space of stillness challenging for you? Keep scanning through the body and noticing if there's spaces that turn back on. Use your breath to, again, remind them to unravel and turn off. Notice if you feel the constant need to twitch or shift or move. That's your mind telling you that stillness is a place that it doesn't want to be. And try and resist that constant desire to move something and become more familiar with and comfortable getting to know stillness, even if it's at first here a space of discomfort. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Just notice what you see with your eyes closed. Let the breath rise all the way up to a fully expanded lung. So the shoulders melt back even a little heavier. And the heart starts to lift up. And you can release the breath long and slow through the nose. This last breath, take your time on the inhale. Notice the shift as the belly rises. Feel the ribs start to reach outward and the heart space lift. Pause right there. And as you pause, soften anything that has engaged in your body. Take a little bit of a sip of additional air in through the nose. And a big sigh. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Move your wrists. You can flex the feet or roll the ankles. We're going to take the hands out into a T. Take your head towards the right side. So you might even pick it up and rotate it as much as you can. Notice how your neck feels. See if you can relax the arms and the shoulders back and notice where you feel this. Might not feel a whole bunch of anything, but some of us, this might be quite excruciating at the moment. So work into a space that's okay for you. Now I want you to turn your arms so that the length of your pinky is on the floor and the palm of your hand is shining down towards the bottom of what would be your mat. So in the direction of your feet. Flex your hands. Keep your head turned as much as is available so you're reaching into the side. Now take your left hand and place it at the base of your neck. You're going to kind of bring your fingers towards the palm of your thumb. And I want you to use the top of your knuckles just to press into the sideline of your neck very slowly, a little bit of pressure upwards towards the base of your skull. Slow breath as you do this. Moving in, you might feel lots of rolling knots here. Just let this be a gentle massage, but keep the head turned and the right hand flat. One more time. We're going to take the left hand back out to the side. You're going to take your right hand this time, same kind of hand function, so the fingers come towards the palm of the right hand, and take the knuckles, and you're going to start at the middle of your chest on your left side of your shoulder and press towards the shoulder. So this is a little massage into the front line, just underneath the collarbone. If you are someone who has a lot of pain in your neck, this might be quite excruciating. Across the back of your shoulders might be really tight. This might be really sensitive as you massage this out. So the pain in the back line of our neck, we always assume needs to have that space massaged or opened. But when we contract the shoulders forward, these tendons here get really, really tight. So breathe as you do this if this is quite strong for you. And then open the hands back out to that T. So the pinky side of the hand is down, the palms are shining forward. We're going to pick up the head and change the direction that we're looking. So take your time as you do this. This might be super sensitive. And I want you to flex your left hand this time. So you're engaging the arm. Keep your shoulder away from the ear so it doesn't rise up towards the chin or the ear. You want to keep it below in line with the body. Flex the hand. Now just like the other side, the right hand, fingers to palm. Let's use the back of the knuckles to massage upward from the base of the neck towards the back of your skull. Gentle. You feel lots of little knots and rolling muscles. That's okay. Slow breath as you do this. Last time here. Take the right hand back out to the side. Flex the hands. We're going to use the left hand this time and work on the front of the chest. So starting towards the middle of your chest bone and just underneath your collarbone, pressing into a sensation that's acceptable for you. Use your breath, move some of that stress and tension, some of the energy outwards towards the long right arm. Let's take one more right here. And take the hands back out into the T. Bring the head back to center. Just take a moment to let that resolve. And then I want you to ground down from your sacrum. So that's the triangle bone between the back of your hips, right, your pelvis. Reach your hands up overhead. Bring your feet so they're about hip width apart and straight down from the hip socket. So we're going to take a crescent moon here. So leaving the body anchored at the sacrum, we're going to walk the feet to the lower left corner of your mat. And you want to feel this open up from the hip all the way down the right side of your leg. This might be enough for you. You might cross the ankle one way or another, only though if it brings you more sensation and opening through that outside line into the hip. And then we're going to leave the sacrum right where it is. Don't let the hips rock. We're going to pick up the upper body and reach the hands towards the upper left corner of your mat. Draw your left shoulder out from under the body. Make a deep C with your body shape. As much as is available for you, our focus is the outside line here of the right side of the body. You could take the right wrist. If this is incredibly intense on your shoulder for any reason, you find a space where the arm can rest. So maybe it comes across the core instead if this is too much on your shoulder. We're going to take 3 really strong breaths here. So let your C be nice and strong. And yin, we hang out here and relax for time. But this morning, we want this to be quite engaged. We want to breathe and open up the whole side of the body. One more big breath here. Come back into alignment. So bring the upper body back first. Uncross ankles if they are. Walk the feet back. If the arms need to come down for a moment, let them. Take a breath. Root down through your sacrum again. Let's walk the feet towards the lower right. Explore how this feels through the left hip and into the side of the thigh, the IT band. You might cross the ankles one way or another. You don't have to. It's just something to explore. Hands come back up overhead. Let's shift the body towards the upper right corner of your mat. You can take the left wrist. Deepen your C as much as is available. You draw the right shoulder out from under the body. Big breaths here. Breathe into the sideline. Feel everything start to open up. Let's take one more big breath here. Okay, we're going to release and come back to center. So the upper body first, arms can come down, uncross ankles and bring the legs in line. Take a breath. We're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest. A little bit of jackknife here. Draw the knee towards the outside of the ribs, towards the right shoulder. Take a big breath here. If you want to engage a little more, you're going to lift the left leg and press through the heel. Start to make circles with the right knee. So it doesn't matter which direction you start. We're going to do both. So place the hand on top of the knee and move through whatever range of motion you have in your hip socket, trying not to rock a lot through the hips, but let the motion come from the hip socket itself. Now we're working on opening up some space so we can come to that Sukasana seated position with a little bit more ease. Next, inhale, the knee comes back to the chest. Take a pause, change direction. Notice if this feels significantly different as you change the direction. Maybe there's more movement, maybe there's less. Maybe there's spots that are tight or tense. And bring the knee back to the chest, give it a little bit of a squeeze. Let's switch sides. Left knee comes in, right leg. Engage it, press through the heel, bring that leg to a hover, and the left knee comes towards the outside of your ribs. Really feel it open through the back of that hamstring, shoulders melt down. The heel can come to the floor on the right leg. We're going to make those circles, so choose a direction to start. Use your breath as you start to explore how your hip is feeling this morning. Next breath in, the knee comes back towards the body. Let's change direction. Bring the knee in, just take a breath. And let the foot come down to the floor. So bending the knees so both feet come to the mat. We're spending a little bit of time on our back here just to get comfortable also to being in this shape. But we're opening up the sides, the front line, the back line of the body so that we can work into these foundational spaces. Let your hands come down towards the sides, palms down. We're going to play in some bridge flow. So press the low back down into the mat and feel your sit bones clear the floor. So your core is going to engage, your thighs are going to engage. You can just Maybe wave your hands underneath the sit bones, so just lifted slightly. Keep the thighs intending inward so that you feel really strong here. Feet are fully rooting down to the floor. Take one more breath here, just in this little tiny hover. And then inhale, we start to lift the hips up towards the sky. So we're peeling the spine up off the mat, a vertebrae at a time. Press into the feet strong. Feel the sit bones pressing upward, the core lifting. Get to whatever is your highest point. Take a big breath here. Keep the thighs moving towards each other. Everything is engaged. Now see if you can move your chin away from your chest a little bit. Maybe the shoulders roll underneath the body to create lift through the heart space. Take a big breath and lift. If the shoulders tucked, untuck one at a time. And then from the top of the spine, slowly coming down, we're going to keep the hips at a hover. So the low back finds the floor, but the sit bones never arrive. Inhale, we lift back up. Press the core, the hips really high. Move the chin away from the chest. You're going to feel your shoulder blades move down your spine. Without tucking them this time, we're going to lower all the way down. Lots of core work here. Low back arrives, the sit bones stay lifted. One more time. Inhale, lifting up. Press strong into the feet. Squeeze the muscles around the sit bones, the glutes. Lift the top of the hips as high as you can. Feel the core reaching for the ceiling. Let's tuck the shoulder blades again. One at a time, lift the heart. Chin is away from the chest. If you like, you can interlace fingers. Bring pinkies down towards the floor. Gives you even more lift upward. Remembering that this is your practice. And if you need a break or you feel like you've had enough strength in this shape, you come out and take a break. Take one more inhale, lift, lift, lift. Release any binds you might have. Untuck shoulders if they're tucked. Lower slow, slow with control all the way towards the floor. Low back engages. Keep those glute muscles just barely lifted. Exhale, let them go. Take a big breath here and now feel like the difference between the upper body resting on the mat as we arrive than what it does right now. Maybe it's a little easier. It's a little more release. Let's bring knees towards the chest. Rock and roll across the low back. And then we're going to rock up towards seated. Let the toes touch the floor. Hands come behind the knees. We're going to lean back so they can come on top of the knees too if that feels more intuitive for you. Engage your core. Lift the heart. Move your chin away from the chest so you feel a long line from the crown of your head all the way to your tailbone. This is a version of boat pose. Now, if you like, you can reach your hands forward, keeping the toes touching down, but just barely. If you like, you might lift the feet up off the floor, but you want to lift your ribs forward so that you're not rounding back. The spine is long, the heart is lifted. So lots of versions here. Hands come to behind the knees if they aren't already there. Let the feet touch down. Soles of feet come together. Let the knees open to the side. Bound angle. We're going to softly come forward. So we're not striving or looking for an incredible amount of depth here in this fold. It's a release shape. So just let the heart come forward. The shoulders can melt away from the spine. The head can dangle. Let's take 3 breaths here. And then coming back up to center. We're going to cross the legs. So coming into Sukasana, we want the right leg in front to start. So come to whatever is a comfortable shape here for you. And if your low back does tend to push back, then take a blanket, pop it underneath the sit bones, or fold your mat over to help bring that pelvic tilt forward. It'll bring some ease to the length in your spine, to the space of the low back. Take a breath, get tall. We're gonna fold this forward. So we're gonna walk the hands first, come. So palms find the floor, and then you're gonna start to walk into a space that's available to you. You're gonna start to feel this on the outside edges of your hip, maybe a little bit to the inner thigh, depending on how your body feels. Notice where you do feel it. Let the heart start to melt. When you can't come forward anymore, you let the shoulders kind of round forward a little bit, like a yin shape. We're going to take 3 breaths right here. Walking the hands back. We're going to put both feet on the floor. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left. So you might lean way back to make this happen. And then you can adjust where your left foot lies. So the hands are behind us first. This is a seated version of figure 4. And you have lots of control here. So you want to feel this to the outside line of the hip, the outside of the IT band, maybe a little bit into the thighs on the inner line too. But you can use your hands to press the floor away and bring your heart closer to your shin. And then you have more control by how close the left foot gets towards its sit bones. So this is how you control and find your level of sensation as we open through the right hip here. You want your spine to be tall wherever you arrive, and you don't want to let your shoulders scrunch up into the ears. You want them to be low, and even intending backwards, maybe squeezing them back towards each other a little bit. Slow, deep breaths right here. And as we breathe, try and bring as much release and relaxation into the right leg that you possibly can. That includes the muscles around the sit bones, the glutes. Your core is lifting you forward, just like it did when we were in our bridge. It's a similar sensation to the core drawing you forward towards the legs. Take one more deep breath here. And then you want to ease yourself out. So maybe you let your heart come away from the legs. Your left leg can come down or come back into that seated pose. This is Sukasana. See if there's a little bit more space. We're going to fold it forward again. So walk the hands, reach the heart. Take a breath at your deepest edge. So wherever you can come with a long spine, pause there. Inhale, draw the crown of the head forward. Find lots of length in the spine. Notice how that changes, how this feels throughout the hips. And then exhale again. Let's soften into this just for a few moments. And if you're someone who has a great deal of tightness through your hips, let's inhale and come back up. Or your hip structure does not allow for your hips to let your legs drop down to the side. Some of us are very closed in the seat. And you work where you can. You can always have blocks underneath hands. It's about bringing the heart forward and exploring through the outside line. So we're going to switch sides. This time, left leg comes forward. Take a moment, find a good structure that feels good in your body. Lift your heart tall, shoulders melt back. We're going to start to walk the hands forward. Find your initial fold here. Inhale, come back to center. We're going to bring our feet towards the mat. We're going to find the seated figure 4 on this side. So the left ankle crosses over the knee. The hands come behind us. And then take your time to start to explore in. So you're walking your hands so that your heart comes closer to that crossed leg. The foot that's on the mat might come closer to the sit bones. You can rock side to side a little bit until you find that sensation. Sometimes we come to one side a little bit more than the other, and you're like, oh, wow, there it is right there. Slow, deep breaths. Keep the shoulders melting down. Maybe squeeze the shoulder blades back, open through the chest. And remember, your core, your low ribs are drawing forward so that we're not all rounded here. It's not about putting the head on the leg. It's all about the sensations for the left side of the hip, the outside line of the left thigh. Slow breath. We're going to unwind this. So bring your hands back so that you have space to uncross that foot. We're going to come back into our Sukasana with the left leg in front. So root down your sit bones, get nice and tall, and let's fold this forward again. So this time we come with a longer spine. The hands come towards the floor. And when you come to that space where you can't come forward anymore with your long spine, take a breath there and get even longer. So reach the crown of the head forward, feel the heart shift. And then soften it just for a moment or two. Inhale, coming back up to center. We're going to shift forward onto hands and knees, so just rock. Take a moment to find this space here. We're going to bring big toes to touch. Take your knees wide. Shift the hips back to a wide child's pose. Let the heart melt down. Walk your hands as far forward as they'll go. Come up onto fingertips and feel like someone is tractioning your spine by drawing your hips back, and then someone else has your wrists and they're drawing them forward. Slow, deep breath right here. Hands melt down. We're going to take some striking cobra. So our very first one, we're going to inhale up towards cat pose, and we are in a wide child. So just pause here. Bring yourself up towards hands and wide knees. Press the floor way around your spine so your head and neck dangle. Then take a moment to bring your knees back underneath the hips. Really press into your cat pose. Then we're going to shift forward into knee plank. So you might need to adjust the location of your hands so the shoulders come over the wrists. Long spine. Don't let the hips sag. Bring them so they're in line between the knees and the shoulders. Chin away from the chest. Lower all the way down to the floor. Here's our first cobra. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Maybe you find a baby cobra with the elbows bent a lot and the heart forward. Exhale, come down. We press the floor away and round through cat pose. Hips back to child. Leave the hands where they are. Take a breath. This might feel more like puppy, and that's okay. Draw the tailbone back, being long through the shoulders. Again, inhale, round up. Shift to plank. Come all the way down. Shoulders back, come up into a cobra, maybe a little bit more space. Exhale down. Floor away, around the spine. The hips come back to child's. Last one, so inhale, rounding up through cat. Find that plank. Let it be really, really strong. Spread the fingers, press the floor away, take a breath. Lower all the way down. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Find your fullest cobra. Hips stay down, elbows are bent. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Gaze can come up. Exhale down. Stay right here. We're coming into our forearm plank. So for a while we've been working. Last month we stayed at 90 seconds. Today we're moving to 105. But as always, you stay in the pose as long as feels right, and you come out when your body says you're good. So elbows are underneath the shoulders, fingers are interlaced or palms down. We tuck the toes under. Take a breath, move the shoulders away from the ears. And on your next inhale, you're lifting either the whole body or from knees, wherever you're working this morning. Now, as you arrive, make sure that your shoulders stay over your elbows. So you might need to put some pressure into the toes or the knees to make that come back. Press the pinkies down if the fingers are interlaced, or the palms down if hands are down. You want to feel the space between the shoulder blades lift. Move your chin away from your chest so the head dangling is not drawing you down towards the floor. And you want your hips, again, to be in between either the knees and the shoulders or the feet and the shoulders. If you have your toes tucked, press the heels back. All of this happening at once. Such a complex shape. Use your breath here to manage. So if you're feeling like you're struggling, are you holding your breath? See if you can relax. I know, right? I'm in a plank, Tanya. How do I relax? Really, if you can relax the struggle in your arms, if you can focus on the lengthening and the bone stacking, and let your breath move really easy. That right there is 90 seconds, guys. We have 3 more breaths, that's it. 3 more breaths and we are done being superheroes for the morning. Last one right here. Really slow, lower yourself to the mat, beautiful. Take elbows out to the sides, forehead comes down. Just allow the legs to roll, so maybe the heels fall out or in. Two more breaths right here. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, press the floor away, come back towards hands and knees. We're going to tuck the toes under and take a toe stand. So important for having a really strong mountain pose. So the hips come towards the heels. Maybe you notice the pinky toes need a little encouragement to come along. And then you're going to test your own sensations this morning. So you're going to pause as you start to move into deeper spaces. So the hands could stay down. You might walk your hands up your thighs. You might have space to lift the heart so it comes over top of the hips. All of these make more intense sensations for the feet. You could even lean back if that space is available to you. And if you're someone who really feels not a whole lot of anything, you really want to challenge yourself, you can flip your mat over under your toes. That adds more. Some people do this on a block. Slow, deep breaths wherever you are. We're almost done. But let's tune into the body here. Do you have a strong arch in your back? Are you sending your tailbone back and your ribs forward? See if you can bring your tailbone to reach down towards your heels and your ribs to kind of stack a little bit more naturally over top of the hips. It's going to intensify what you feel. That's why you have them reaching in opposite directions to make this more available, so that if you have to lean forward to make that happen, then play with how this feels in your body. Slow, deep breath here, last one. We come forward. Hands find the floor. Don't untuck your toes yet. Bring your shoulders back over top of your wrists. Spread the fingers, take a breath. One foot, just untuck the toes, lift them up off the mat, and then place the top of the foot down, resisting the urge to move here. And then the other side, untuck, pull, breathe through that strong release. Top of feet comes down. Take one more breath here. And then you can open and close the toes, wiggle them. You can gently tap them on the floor if you feel like that gives you some release. Take a breath. And then we're going to tuck the toes under again, just for a moment. Walk the hands towards the knees, pop up into a squat. Open the knees to the side. Let's take a Buddha bow. So drop the heart forward. You're going to play into the available space in this fold, and you can sway side to side. Even see if you can feel into the outside line of hip a little bit more, or maybe it's just because it feels really great. Walk the hands back, close the knees. Let's lift the hips up, but keeping a strong bend to the knee. The heels come down first. Bring your core towards your thighs. Start to reach the hips just a little higher, bringing this into ragdoll. So we never straighten the knees, but everything dangled from the hips. Bend the knees a lot. Come all the way up to stand. Reach for the sky and a back bend. Exhale through heart. We're going to come towards the top of the mat. And we're just going to take a really brief few standing poses just to reach into the other spaces that we maybe didn't give enough attention to before we start to wind down this morning. So come to that mountain pose again. Root the base of your big toe down, the ball of your foot. Feel it engage the floor. Your whole foot will find the mat in that way. And again, we externally rotate the thighs, engage through the glute muscles. You're going to feel the arches of your feet lift. Just like we did in a few different spaces this morning, notice if you have a big arch in your spine. Draw your tailbone down, the ribs come over the hips. Hands come down to the sides, squeeze the shoulder blades gently back, externally rotate the arms. Take a breath. And then soften all this engagement. Inhale, reach for the sky. On your exhale, we're going to bend the knees and then hinge from the hips, drop the heart down towards the big toes. So the heart reaches for the toe, the hips reach for the ceiling. You can keep a strong bend in your knees, but we want the core to intend toward your thighs. Start to open up through your hamstrings. And then inhale, come to flat back so the hands can stay on the mat, or they can rise up your shins. Turn on your core, squeeze the shoulder blades back, and reach to the crown of the head. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees enough that the hands come to the mat. Right foot steps back, find the runner's lunge. Take a breath here. So your front knee is over the ankle. Press your heel back and reach the heart forward. You can place blocks underneath the hands here so that there's more space. If you're like me and you have shorter torso, shorter arms, sometimes the floor can be really far away. And then drop the knee, release the toe. Sweep the arms back. Inhale, reach all the way up. Come into our dragon pose. So first, let's bring the shoulders over the hip, hip over the knee, so that we feel this into the thigh. And then choosing your own range and what's available here, let your hips start to reach forward, and you can bring your heart forward. So this is on an angle. Hands can come to heart or to the front knee, or they can stay reaching forward. That brings a lot more intensity here. Try not to let your front knee fall to the side. Keep squeezing it in towards the midline. We're reaching into the thigh, and the more lifted your heart is, the more back bend this brings in as well, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not accessible for everyone. So if you keep your heart reaching forward and the spine a little bit more neutral, then you can focus on this hip flexor and the back leg, the hamstring on the front without the extension through the back. But if it's something that you like to bring into your practice, it's available for you also. Big breath here. Hands come down to frame the front foot. Left hand comes to the front knee. We're going to twist this open. So inhale, press the knee away. You're going to open your foot like a book, start to lengthen the arm and twist your heart open towards the side of your mat. Gaze back over the shoulder. You're going to feel this through the outside line of that front leg and the hip flexor on the back. Slow breath. Inhale with control, bring everything back in line. Hand comes down to the floor. Tuck the back toe under, find your way back into your runner's lunge. Slow breath right here. And then step back into downward facing dog. It's our first one this morning. It's one of only two that we're practicing. So big open fingers to the mat. You can have a bend in your knees, a little or a lot. Press the floor away so your shoulders open and you reach your heart back for the big toe and your hips reach up as you start to settle in here. Gaze comes forward. Let's walk or step all the way to the top of the mat. Take that fold. Bend the knees a lot, come all the way to stand. Reach for the sky, maybe a baby back bend feels great. If it does, reach tall, tall, tall first, and then start to feel like you're bending backwards over top of a large barrel so that you have the movement coming from the mid ribs upward rather than collapsing through the low back. Exhale to heart. Let's do the other side. Inhale, reach up. And then exhale, we're going to hinge and fold. So bend the knees, heart reaches for the big toes. Hips reach for the ceiling. Feel the base of the big toe root down. Flat back, inhale, lift. Hands can come to shins, squeeze the shoulders back, reach the crown, folding down. We're going to bend the knees a lot so the hands come to the mat. This time, left foot steps back for the runner's lunge. So take a moment to find your runner's lunge here, knee over the ankle, press the heel back, reach the heart forward. And while this might feel like a little bit of a gentler practice this morning, the intensity comes from your intention. So if you are really sending your mind, your intention, your energy into these spaces, this practice might be quite intense. Drop the knee, release the toe. Let's reach the arms back first and then inhale them up. Come to dragon with the shoulder over the hip, hip over the knee. Notice how this feels for you. For some of us, this is incredibly intense through the front line of the thigh. And then let's shift the hips forward. You can lean the heart forward, find that neutral spine, or you lift the heart and find more extension through your low back. Hands can be at heart or on the front knee. Take one more breath wherever you might be. Hands come back down to frame the front foot. We're going to take that twisted dragon. So your right hand comes to the front knee. Start to twist by pressing the knee away, looking to lengthen a bit through the arm. The foot opens like a book, and the heart twists towards the long edge of the mat and upward. Maybe the gaze comes back if it's available. You're going to explore into how this feels through the front hip and the back hip flexor. Slow breath. Bring it back through center. Move nice and slow. The foot finds the floor. Hands frame the foot. We're going to tuck the back toes under. Find your runner's lunge. We're going to step the front foot back to downward facing dog. Take a moment to find the version of this that feels good in your body. So maybe there's a really big bend in your knees as you lengthen the spine and press the floor away. The heels can get heavy. Move the chin away from the chest so that the ears come between the biceps. And then let's take the gaze between the hands. We're going to walk all the way up to the top of the mat. Bend the knees a lot. Come all the way to stand. Tadasana. We're going to spend a few moments here. So take your feet wide, about hip width apart, rather than having them side by side and close together. Again, feel all of the spaces at the base of each toe. Really engage strongly with the floor. The heel sinks down. We're going to externally rotate the thighs. This is a movement that you probably cannot see as I do it. It's a very small movement. You can feel it in yourself when you do it. Your glute muscles engage. The thighs turn outward so little so that the knees line up perfectly over the ankles and the midlines of the toes. And you feel the arches of your feet lift. Grow tall. Take the arch out of your spine. So you draw the tailbone down. And close your eyes as you do this, because then you can feel your way in. Notice if your shoulders are forward or up. We're going to roll them forward. We're going to bring them right up towards the ears. Squeeze, 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 and then let them set back so that you feel opening through that space in the chest where we were giving some massage as we started practice this morning. And arms hang. Externally rotate the arms so the inside of your elbows shines forward. The hands shine more forward, maybe not all the way. Depends on how this is in your arm structure, your shoulder structure. But open the hands so that they're wide and you feel the center of your palm. If your chin is tucked at all, bring it so it's more parallel with the floor. And then notice if you're standing in your toes or in your heels in that gentle, tiny sway back and forth until you find that perfect balance. Mountain pose. 3 of the most important poses in your practice. Tadasana, mountain pose, standing strong. Beautiful posture. Awareness of feet, legs, hips, core, heart, shoulders, arms. Chin and drishti, which is your gaze, which either has a perfect space just forward and down for you to softly tune into, just like in balance, where you close the eyes and become aware of everything that's firing, aligned, everything you're feeling. One more full breath right here. Soften your mountain. So all of that engagement goes away, but we don't collapse. We're still really aligned. Our core is still holding us into a nice posture. You can let the external rotations go, the intentional engagement. Maybe you open the eyes, inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale very gently. We're going to bend the knees and fold this down so that the hands find the floor, knees come down one at a time. We're going to find our way into Sukasana, so seated. And if you're someone that you know has that pelvis that doesn't like to come forward, then you structure yourself with your mat lift or blanket beneath you. But feel the sit bones ground down. And then start to lift your heart up on a tall spine. It's tall, long, so that we can feel the breath moving easily, all the way from the base of the pelvis right up to the very top of the lungs. And as you sit up here, maybe your eyes close. When we close our eyes, we can tune into what we feel as opposed to what we think we see ourselves looking like as we sit structure. And then put your hand on your heart and notice if you're leaning forward, which many of us might actually be. And then just with a breath, using your awareness, bring your heart over top of the hips, and you're going to feel ease come into the low back space and through the core. It's not so difficult to stay lifted here. Let the shoulders melt down, feel the opening through the chest. Arms can find whatever home feels right. So some of us have hands in the lap. Some of us have palms down on your knees. Some of us are palms up. Now check in with your chin. Notice if your chin and your neck are forward. Bring the chin back and then let it be parallel with the floor. You want to feel like you're pressing your head back against a wall so that we're not behind the spine, but we're in line with it. Now, without losing your structure, relax as much as you can and breathe well. So through the nose, long, intentional inhales, long, controlled exhales. Balance your breath. Now notice how this Sukasana might feel different than the one we had at the very beginning of practice. If this is a challenging space for you to rest in, this might be so much easier because your body's more open, or even more challenging because you're now more aware of all the places and spaces, the energy, where you're tense and tight, and what's accessible. So don't judge your practice at all. Just become aware of it so that you can work with what's here. Let's take one more breath. And then soften the intention here. We're still going to stay seated. We're just going to give some more release through the neck before we come down. So let your right ear come towards your right shoulder. Extend the left arm long. Your right hand can come wherever it needs to help support you in this shape. Now move your chin around, up, down, side to side. Look for the line of tension. We all have one. It might not be where you expect it to be, but when you find it, you'll know it and pause right there. Breathe into it. One more big breath. And bring the hands back towards the knees. We're going to tuck the chin in and roll the head down. Roll it all the way towards the left. Pause for a breath and then roll all the way slowly towards the right, trying not to let the spine collapse. Like a bit of a massage. Maybe you do that sweep one more time. And because we were focused on the left side and kind of awoke some of that tension line, it might be really speaking. So move nice and slow, whatever's available for you here. And then drop the chin back down again. Tuck it in so that the head is just falling forward. Don't allow your shoulders to round forward. Keep them melting back and the heart lifted and open. And so you can feel the space between each of the vertebrae from the middle of the low back up through the neck into the back of the skull. Slow breath there. Notice if your jaw is engaged here. Notice if you're still carrying a lot of tension and see if you can relax the jaw. Let's bring the left ear towards the left shoulder. And the left hand can come wherever you need to support you. Take the right hand out into an angle and extend this line. And again, we're going to move and explore with the chin until you find your line of tension. Sometimes it can take some investigating, and then you just find it. Breathe right there. Hands come back to the knees, drop the chin forward, roll it back and forth, really slow. Maybe squeeze the shoulder blades back and come a little bit more into a head drop if that feels available through your neck. Doesn't for everyone. You can use your hands to guide the chin back to center. Let's find our way down into Shavasana. If there's anything you'd like for your comfort as you come down, socks or sweaters or a blanket. If you have difficulties or pain in your low back, you can bring a prop under your knees. But if you're able to leave that out this morning, let's come right down into traditional corpse pose, Shavasana. Let your shoulder blades tuck under. And this is just like Tadasana, standing. So take a moment, flex the feet like we're standing on the floor. Externally rotate the arms so that the elbows shine up, the palms shine up, the shoulder blades move back. The heart and the chest are open. Move the chin away from the chest, really engaged and full here. So you're sending energy down the arms. It comes out through the heart. It comes out through the palms. It comes out through the soles of the feet. Take a big breath here. And when you exhale it, let all the engagement go. Make any little adjustments that you need. Maybe your arms move a little farther from the body. The legs are just going to roll to wherever they land. Let it feel fantastic to be still. Take one more slow, deep breath in. As much air as you can take. Pause full. When you feel like you have to exhale, big, loud through the mouth. very gently, starting to come back, just to be aware of the flow of your breath. Each of the next 3 inhales, just deepen them a little bit more than the one before. Starting to tap into your vitality and your energy for the day. Then inviting movement, first through fingers, then through toes. Moving in a way that feels natural. So rolling wrists and ankles, opening and closing the hands, flexing the feet. Let that go. Allow your head to drop from side to side. So just like we moved earlier, take your head all the way first towards the right. Take a breath there. Be relaxed. Notice if you brought in tension and engagement as you did that, with the shoulders soften. Inhale, move really slow as you change to the opposite direction. Same thing again. Don't let any of that stresses, engagement, tension creep in. Just be melted here. Feel the neck open. And coming back through center. And let's reach the hands up overhead and point your toes. Take a full good morning stretch. So send the energy from the core out through the hands, through the feet. Lengthen everything. Big deep breath in. Big exhale. And as you start to tune into how you feel, shift and move any way that feels right or necessary as you start to make your way back up to seated Sukasana. And as you arrive, your sit bones ground, so take a moment to find what's comfortable in your body for that to happen. And then the heart starts to lift on a tall spine. Notice that the heart is forward and bring it back over the hips. And maybe we leave the heart covered by the hand. Close the eyes. Take a moment to tune in. As you start to close practice, check into how you feel in your body and your energy. And then bring hands to heart. You have my gratitude for allowing me to guide your practice. I hope you feel really grounded and fantastic in your skin as you start to move forward into your day. And for those of you who, like we said before our practice this morning, are caregivers or parents, I hope you feel appreciated in all that you do. Take good care. Namaste.